Imagine the crashing waves of the Atlantic, a relentless ocean stretching endlessly toward the horizon. It is the year 1587, and more than 100 English men, women, and children set foot on the shores of a wild, untamed land. They are full of hope, ambition, and the dream of building a new life in the new world. They do not know that their story will end in silence, in mystery, and in one of the greatest unsolved disappearances in American history. This is the haunting tale of the Lost Colony of Roanoke. The story begins decades before America's birth, when Queen Elizabeth I ruled England. The English crown was eager to expand its influence and claim new lands across the ocean. In competition with Spain, Sir Walter Raleigh, favorite of the Queen, was granted permission to establish colonies in the New World. He dreamed of planting the flag of England on American soil, and in doing so, securing riches and prestige. Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina, was chosen as the place to begin. In 1585, the first attempt was made. A group of men established a small settlement on Roanoke Island, but the harsh conditions, lack of supplies, and uneasy relations with the local native tribes made survival difficult. That first group abandoned the island after less than a year, but Raleigh was determined, and the dream of an English colony refused to die. 2 years later, in 1587, another expedition set sail. This time it wasn't just soldiers or explorers, it was families. There were 115 men, women, and children, led by John White, an artist and governor of the new colony. Among them was White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, who soon gave birth to Virginia Dare, the very first English child born in the New World. Her birth was celebrated as a symbol of hope, a promise that life could thrive on this distant shore. The settlers believed they were building a permanent home. But from the very beginning, life in Roanoke was harsh. Supplies were scarce. The colonists struggled to farm and relied heavily on trade with the local Native Americans. Tensions rose and mistrust grew. John White, seeing the colony's difficulties, decided to return to England to plead for more supplies. He promised to return quickly. His daughter, his granddaughter, and the rest of the colonists stayed behind, awaiting his return. But fate intervened. When White returned to England, he found his homeland at war with Spain. The Spanish Armada threatened to invade, and every available ship was commandeered for the defense of England. White begged for a vessel to return to his people, but his pleas went unanswered. His journey back to Roanoke was delayed not by weeks or months, but by 3 long years. When John White finally sailed back to Roanoke in 1590, he was desperate to see his family again. As his ship approached the familiar shoreline, his heart must have been pounding with both dread and anticipation. But when he reached the colony, he found only silence. The settlement was deserted. The houses had been dismantled. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence of violence, only emptiness. The only clue left behind was a single word carved into a wooden post. CROATOAN. Nearby, the letters CRO were carved into a tree. CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island, home to a native tribe friendly to the English. To John White, this seemed a hopeful sign that the colonists had moved to CROATOAN Island for safety, but when he tried to sail there, storms drove his ship away. He never made it, and he never saw his daughter or granddaughter again. The fate of the colonists remains unknown to this day. The lost colony had vanished without a trace. Theories about what happened have haunted historians for centuries. Some believe the settlers simply tried to survive by integrating with the local native tribes, joining their communities, and leaving behind the English ways. Archaeological findings suggest this might have some truth. Evidence of European tools and items found in native villages hint at possible assimilation. But if they did join the tribes, why did no definitive records or oral histories survive to prove it? Others believe the colonists tried to sail back to England on their own, but without the necessary skills or supplies, their attempt ended in disaster. Some suggest they were attacked either by hostile tribes or even by the Spanish, who also patrolled the coast at the time. But once again, there are no records, no remains, no evidence to confirm such a fate. And then, there are darker theories. Some whisper that the colonists may have succumbed to disease, famine, or conflict among themselves. Others claim something far more sinister, that supernatural forces played a role. For centuries, storytellers have whispered that Roanoke Island was cursed, that spirits roamed the forests and marshes, and that the colonists may have fallen victim to something not of this world. What makes the story so haunting is that it is not just about survival, it is about disappearance. 115 souls, men, women, and children, vanished from history. No bodies, no graves, no survivors ever emerged. They were swallowed whole by time, leaving only a carved word and endless speculation. Even in modern times, the mystery refuses to die. Archaeologists and historians continue to search for answers. Excavations on Hatteras Island, once called CROATOAN, have uncovered tantalizing clues. Shards of English pottery, a sword hilt, copper items not native to the region. These discoveries suggest at least some colonists may have lived among the CROATOAN people, but it is not conclusive. Meanwhile, Roanoke has become more than just a historical mystery. It has become folklore. It has inspired novels, plays, and even television shows. The idea of an entire colony vanishing without explanation taps into a primal fear. The fear of being forgotten, of being erased from the story of humanity. And perhaps that is why the legend endures, because it was not a single person who vanished, not even a family, but an entire community. People like you and me, who dreamed of a future in a new land, who built homes, raised children, and believed in tomorrow. And then, nothing. The silence of Roanoke speaks louder than any words. Imagine John White, standing among the abandoned houses, calling out for his daughter, for his granddaughter, hearing nothing but the wind and the trees and the distant crash of waves. His footprints, the only ones in the sand. His voice swallowed by the emptiness. That is the true horror of Roanoke, not death, but disappearance. To this day, we cannot say with certainty what became of the Lost Colony. Were they absorbed into native communities, their English identity dissolving into another culture? Did they die of hunger or disease, their bones hidden by time? Were they slaughtered, their lives erased in violence? Or did something stranger, something beyond explanation, claim them? We may never know. And perhaps that is the point. The mystery of Roanoke endures because it cannot be solved, because it teases us with just enough evidence to imagine 1,000 possibilities, but never enough to answer the question. It is the kind of story that lingers in the mind, gnaws at the imagination, and refuses to fade. So the next time you hear the wind howling at night, or stand alone in a place where history whispers through the trees, remember the Lost Colony. Remember that an entire community once vanished into silence, leaving behind nothing but a word carved into wood. CROATOAN, a single word, a haunting legacy, and one of the greatest mysteries in American history.